And Malmsteen looks over to Ron and says, hey, man, I just got to ask you something. Is there anything you could do to these songs to make them a little bit more interesting?
This is a Full and Bloom interview with Steeler bassist Rik Fox. Steeler just released a brand new song, their first in over 40 years. A link to the official video can be found in the description.
By December of 82, now you had to bring you back to your question, how long after Wasp? It was actually on my birthday, December 28th, in 1982, we were at the Rainbow, and Ron looks over at me and goes, hey, man, I just want to tell you, welcome to the band. You're a member of Steeler. So that's when he confirmed it right then and there. So out of Wasp, by the end of last week of May 82, was it like 7 months or so later, by December of 82, I was already now in one of the biggest bands in Los Angeles. During that time, as it was really starting to gel well, I guess Ron was accepting the fact, you know what, now is the time we got to get somebody in here, you know, get a guitar player in here, lead guitarist, somebody who can really cut the mustard. So he was in touch with Varney, and Barney had a column in one of the guitar magazines about showcasing up-and-coming guitar players. I call them pistoleros. Now, at this time, to the majority of at least to Los Angeles, Eddie Van Halen was the thing. And of course, locally, George Lynch was in a very similar style from Dokken. There were other up-and-coming guitar players, but they were already in bands like that. So Ron had mentioned something to Mike Varney and said, you know, we need a guitar player from hell. Not realizing how prophesizing that statement was, because what it eventually turned into, we did get the guitar player from hell. But Varney had given a demo tape of Malmsteen to Ron, or at least they got together and they listened to it. And then we heard the demo tape. We all sat down and we listened to it, and we're like, wow, amazing guitar player. Who's this guy? And it turns out he's this 19-year-old kid from Sweden. So we did a three-way conference call. I remember Barney on one line and Malmsteen on another, and us all sitting around with the phone in Ron's sleeping area. And I remember Malmsteen being excited about wanting to come to California, to America, and I want to play in your band. I want to be with you guys. And I can't wait. It's a great opportunity, and la, 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 la. And I'm like, okay, so this guy sounds like he's motivated. He really wants to try out and be a member of the band. So arrangements were made to fly him to America, and he gets off the plane, and he comes down the ramp. I remember the memories of me coming down the ramp when I was going to, audition for Wasp. And he's flipping his hair from side to side, and it's got this whole persona of it's like a aura. It's like the Viking has arrived, kind of like that attitude. It didn't seem like the same guy we were talking to on the phone. He was a little bit of the arrogance. Like, I guess he was a big fish in a little pond in Sweden, and now he's coming to the big ocean, the big pond, where, there's a lot of fish, to use that analogy. We found out Malmsteen had some kind of record deal with CBS in Sweden, and he got as far as he could get. He could not get to another level above that, and he got out of his contract. They were not into what he was doing in Sweden. They were not into that rock and roll. I mean, this is the country that brought you ABBA, so that tells you where the interest was for music in Sweden. I think he was trying to impress us because, he was a kid. We were older than him. He would just flow with things about into witchcraft and paranormal and UFOs and dark this, 666. And I think he was wearing a pentagram. I think he was trying to be scary. It was kind of like Uli Roth getting off the plane, that kind of look. But his hair wasn't as long as Uli's, but, like Lars Ulrich with blonde curly hair and the signature Swedish nose. Anyway, so we go back to the Steeler mansion. He's not expecting, nobody expects what they're going to see when they walk into the Steeler mansion. It was culture shock from the minute the door opened, and he just stood there and looked around the room. And it was like, holy shit, what am I in for? There's roaches everywhere. Ron was sleeping on milk crates. Mark was sleeping on milk crates. The area I slept on was it looked like the raised coach area in a train. There was this wooden platform up off the floor against the wall. And you put a mattress in it and hang a curtain, and it looks like a train coach or on a tour bus like that. And my room was right next to the rehearsal room, just like that. And then, of course, the only other bed available was for in the kitchen area, and it was a big room that just had a stove and a refrigerator against the wall. And when you turn the stove on at night, you could hear the roaches jumping, bailing from the stove, hitting the newspaper on the floor. He had a waterbed. There was a big waterbed in there that one of the other members just left behind. So, and that was that. And, we got to the point where we said, okay, let's just plug in and see what happens.
And that's the first day, like right after he arrives, you guys jam?
No, not right away. I mean, you have to let the jet lag wear off, kind of thing. I don't even know if we went out. Like I said, we didn't have money. We were all broke. Mark Workman pretty much took care of us. He was the band manager at that point. There was another manager involved before that, but he went on to do other things. And Mark Workman kind of stepped into that role. Mark was like the stage manager and the lighting director. And then they had the road crew had stayed with the band. So you had Jimmy and Alan. We were drum and guitar. Did sound. Alan was the sound tech, sound guy. Jimmy did the guitars, and a guy named Pete was the drum tech.
And they also lived in the mansion? Yeah.
They dug out a little area to sleep in like that. And from Jimmy, I learned all the different ways of making top ramen. Once everybody settled down, I think we rented another stack of cabinets, guitar cabinets set up for Malmsteen. And he pulls out his Strat. And that's where it started to present itself as a problem for Malmsteen, because it was an instance in the rehearsal studio. We just finished a song, and it was hot in there. It was sweaty. And Malmsteen looks over to Ron and says, "Hey, man, I just got to ask you something. Is there anything you could do to these songs to make them a little bit more interesting? Because they're really quite fucking boring." And that's pretty much verbatim what he said. I was in shock. And I looked up at Mark on the drum riser, and Mark looked at me, and we had that kind of eye contact for a second, like, did the new guy just say what we thought he said? He just insulted the boss's songs. And Ron did what I call the quickest slow burn you have ever seen. It's like when you get red in the face, and you're just waiting for the smoke to come out of his ears. Ron just got this look on his face, and he's like, "Okay, all right, fine." Next day, Ron's making phone calls. And within a day or so, we're already auditioning other guitar players. Well, Malmsteen is there living with us. It happened that fast.
But just so I got the timeline right, this is still before the album, the recording?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. This is like, I was rehearsing all through January of 83. I'm in by December of 82 officially. So January of 83, we're rehearsing three-piece. Malmsteen came in almost to the same day that I arrived in LA a year earlier. I got to LA on February 4th of 82. Malmsteen came in, I think, around February 4th, 5th of 83.
Okay.
By the time he landed, and then having him, insult Ron's material, the Steelers songs, all happened during February, I'd have to say. So, it had to be. Our first show was the next month. So this all happened pretty quick. And Malmsteen finally said, "Okay, look, I'll play the game. Let's do it your way. Let's do the songs and let's do this." And like that. So.
Oh, he did actually say that?
Yeah, words to that effect. So we all got in line together and we rehearsed. I mean, we turned the rest of February into the assembly line of rehearsing. It's like there was nothing else to do. Just rehearse. Eat, sleep, rehearse. And that's what we did. It got really, really good, really tight, and we were kicking ass. We're looking at each other going, "Yeah, this is working." And then our first gig, we got notified for March 11th at the Country Club. We supported Hughes Thrall, Glenn Hughes, Pat Thrall.
Sure.
And everybody was there. The Country Club was friggin' packed to see Steeler. I mean, everybody was thinking it's going to be the same Steeler as we saw in 82. Crowd pleaser, house filler, crowd pleaser, headline and band. And we get on stage, and the lights go down, and they had these big, thick, heavy velvet curtains, like, old-timey movie theater. So the curtain starts to go up, and I'm looking, and they put my mic stand too far to the front of the stage, and the curtain's going up, and it took my mic stand up with it. And I'm yelling, going, "Stop, stop." The people down at the edge of the stage could look under the curtain and see what was going on. And they're yelling, they're pointing up at the mic stand. We stopped it, and they brought the curtain back down. What a hell of a way to debut. They bring the curtain back down. Jimmy runs out, moves the mic stand back, and now we start over. And the curtain goes up. And I'm looking at this ocean, the sea of people in the Country Club. And we went on. Bam, the lights go up. We assaulted the audience. And you could see the look on people's faces. Who's the new guy in the black leather outfit on the stage right? And then there's this sweeping arpeggio guy over there on the stage left. And they didn't know where to look. Everybody was stunned. It was the typical O-shaped mouths, and the eyes are going, "Holy shit, what is this? This is not the same Steeler. Where did these guys come from?" I look over the door to come onto the stage, and there's this head peeking out there with the guy with his jaw open. It was Pat Thrall. Now, a few years before, I had seen Pat Thrall playing in the Pat Travers band with Tommy Aldridge and Mars Cowling at the Palladium in New York City. I was down front. I was like in the front row. So I was watching like the Boom Boom Out Goes the Lights tour. Pat Thrall was an amazing guitar player under Pat Travers. And so I recognized Pat Thrall standing there with his jaw open, watching Malmsteen. This was my debut in Los Angeles. This is Yngwie's debut. This is the world debut, the new Steeler in Los Angeles. And nobody knew what to expect. Total onslaught in your face. The reactions were shock. The night went by like a blur. So after the show, I went over to Pat Thrall and I introduced myself. And I said, I don't know if you remember me. I said, I was down front at the Palladium show where Pat Travers. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, I thought you looked familiar. And I said, isn't that great? A few years ago, I'm looking up on stage, watching you do your thing with Pat Travers and all these guys. And a couple of years later, here we are playing the same stage together. And I said, I have to add this. And he goes, what's that? And I said, I have both of your Automatic Man albums. And he melted. You get a top artist like that whose albums were good, but eclectic and didn't appeal to the mass market. They're savory, but for special kind of ears. And I said, I have both of those albums. And he just loved that. That made his day. So that was my kind of moment of greatness with Pat Thrall. And then that was it. That was our show.
Did you meet Glenn Hughes that night?
No. And I kicked myself in the ass. I don't know why. I don't know what. The rest of the night, like I said, it was a blur.
I know you're saying it's a blur, and I can understand probably tons of adrenaline after that. But are Ron and Yngwie, are they happy or excited? Are you noticing any of that or remember anything?
To the best of my knowledge, I'd say everybody was pretty happy after that night. We turned LA on its ear. The buzz was like overnight. The next month we did the Roxy with Vandenberg.
Do you recall the very next show? And was there a difference even from one show to the other?
They just got better and tighter as we went along.
Crowd-wise, or more people coming out, more rock stars coming out. Do you notice anything like the word spread quickly?
I have a picture of us on stage at the Roxy, and it's just from the stage all the way to out of the frame, the edge of the frame of the picture. It's just an ocean of people. And people have seen that, we post it and go, I'm in that picture somewhere. Let's put it, each venue seemed to have more and more people. And having been in them, I know how many people it takes to fill these places. And that was April. Next month in May, we got a call to support Quiet Riot. And this is now Mental Health. It just went to #1, I think, in Billboard. The Bees were originally supposed to open up and support Quiet Riot. We got called up and said, you're opening for Quiet Riot, your support. I'm like, oh, there was just the two of us. There was no other opening band that I know of. Perkins Palace, I think, legally held about 1,200 people. There was so many people in Perkins Palace that if you had a backstage pass, it would be double, tripled up. It would be like +4, +5, plus whatever. I mean, they oversold, it sold out. You couldn't pack any more people into Perkins Palace. When we went on and we killed it. Then we did the Troubadour. And I stuck my head out the window upstairs from the dressing room, and the line went out of the club, down the street, and around the corner. So we were definitely going places.